Fear not. Today, on Let the Church Be the Church. Last week, we talked about fear, a worldwide epidemic with people from all nations, cultures, and walks of life infected. Even in the church, we see people filled with fear. And here's the problem with fear: it's crippling and it literally controls our lives. If we live in fear, we'll never become all that we can be. For Christ followers, we're taught that the only thing we should fear is God Himself, not in a terrified way, but rather with an awestruck reverence. We hold Him as holy, we honor Him in love. Any other fear object is wrong, for God gave us a spirit not of fear, Paul writes in 2 Timothy 1:7, but of power, of love, and of self-control. Now, here's something really interesting about fear. Fearing anything but God makes us cower and hide. It steals life from us. But fearing God, that makes us bold. It makes us courageous. We read in Proverbs 28:1b, the righteous are as bold as a roaring lion. Man, I love that image. David wrote in Psalm 138, when I called, you answered me. You made me bold and stout-hearted. What an amazing difference. Fear of anything but God is crippling, but fear of God is empowering. We can live then, we can dream, we can stand up for truth, launch out into faith, into the great unknown. Fearing God fosters a rich, full life filled with open horizons before us. Why? Because perfect love, God's love for us, perfect love casts out fear. It's gone. When we fear God and are in right relationship with Him, we understand that He loves us and He goes before us in life. Our lives are in His mighty hands and we have nothing to fear. Romans 8:31 says, what then shall we say in response to this? If God is for us, who can be against us? Well, no one, of course. And friends, that is absolutely the point. We fear God in reverence as His child, but our enemies, they fear God very differently. They know that our God and Father is bigger, badder, and wiser than them. And He never loses. He never fails. Us plus God is always a winning team. That's why a proper fear of God just expels all other fears. Look, you and I, we have to come to the point where we realize that we are God's. He loves us. He's a jealous God. He loves us. And we can live our lives confident in His unfailing love. We see this in the early church a lot. In Acts chapter 3, Peter and John were in the temple and they healed a man crippled from birth. After that miracle, a large crowd gathered in amazement, and Peter preaches a blazing, powerful sermon to them. They were then confronted by the religious leaders, seized by the temple guards, and they spent the night in jail. The following day, they were summoned before a large gathering of rulers, including the high priests. And they asked, by what power or name did you do this? And get Peter's fearless reply. I'm just going to read from Acts 4:9 and 10. If we are being called into account for an act of kindness shown to a cripple and are asked how he was healed, then know this. This is awesome. You and all the people of Israel, it is by the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, who you crucified, but who God raised from the dead, that this man stands before you healed. Keep in mind, friends, these bold words were to the very people who had crucified Jesus or had Him crucified just a few weeks earlier. Talk about courage. And the leaders threatened them. And when they did, they went back to their people and they prayed, not for protection, not for deliverance from their enemies, but they prayed, now, Lord, consider their threats and enable your servants to speak your word with great boldness. Wow. Their only fear was God, the very one who loved them and had their lives in eternity in His caring and powerful hands. And that's where we are. Friends, if we're going to walk by faith, then there can only be one fear object in our lives, and that's God. And a proper fear of God will cast out all other fears, enabling us to live up to His potential for us. and let His church be the church.
If this video was helpful to you, please give it a like and share it. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next one.